Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, and thanks so much for taking time to join us today. I'm Srujana, Solutions Engineer at Yellowfin. The topic is Ask Your Data Anything, learn how to take your dashboards to the next level with AI. We are going to explore how the new AI features in Yellowfin can help you build and enhance your BI and get more out of it with the help of AI. We'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions during the session, just drop them in the Q&A section and we'll address all questions at the end of the presentation. Let's briefly look at the topics for today. We'll start with a quick look at how AI is reshaping business intelligence in general. Then I'll give you a brief overview of some of the smart features available in Yellowfin, including natural language query, assisted insights, and signals. After that, I'll jump into a live demo where we'll see these features in action inside the Yellowfin platform. And finally, we'll wrap up with some time for Q&A. Before we dive into the product features, let's take a step back and understand why AI matters so much in BI today. This next section sets the stage for how Yellowfin's approach and our newest innovations fit naturally into this growing demand for simpler, smarter analytics. BI has certainly come a long way over the years. As user needs and expectations have evolved, technology companies, including us, have had to continuously innovate to keep up with the growing demands of BI consumers. In the early days, it was enough just to have visibility into the data, but today, users expect much more. Flexibility in how they build visualizations, the ability to ask intuitive questions, and even uncover insights they didn't think to look for. BI has progressed from writing SQL queries just to pull a report to simply asking a question in plain language and having the system find the answers for you. Yellowfin has always adapted to meet these changing expectations. And with our latest releases, we have taken another big step forward by offering natural language query powered by AI, helping our customers ask better questions faster and stay ahead of the curve. For the past 21 years, Yellowfin's approach has been to make it easy for end users to access their data. With our embedded analytics model and drag and drop interface, the idea has always been that end users should be able to build reports and find answers to their questions independently without relying on IT. Alongside the flexibility our drag and drop interface gives power users, we have also introduced guided natural language query and assisted insights to help read-only users get answers without needing to build reports at all. And while Yellowfin already includes many features that automatically draw insights from the data, like signals, assisted insights, smart tasks, and more, we have recognized the growing demand for AI and the need for even more intuitive ways to get answers. More and more users want to simply ask a question naturally, casually, and get an immediate relevant answer. That's the level of flexibility BI users now expect. With our most recent release, Yellowfin 9.15, we have taken the next step by launching AI-driven natural language query. Yellowfin 9.15 now includes AI-powered natural language query, along with the smart features that many of you may already be familiar with. Starting with AI-powered natural language query, Yellowfin supports a bring-your-own AI model approach. Right now, we support integration with OpenAI out of the box, but more LLMs can be added in future releases. The configuration is simple. Users can add their own API key, enable AI NLQ, and start asking natural language questions directly against their Yellowfin data models. Then we have assisted insights, which naturally explains the why behind changes in data. And finally, signals continuously monitor the data for changes, trends, and patterns. When Yellowfin detects something significant, it proactively notifies users so they are aware of potential issues or opportunities as they happen. Now let's look at these features in the application. In this demo, I'll walk you through the key capabilities we've covered so far in this webinar. We'll start by looking at how you can build dashboards using AI-powered natural language query. Then we'll explore how to automatically generate insights that explain anomalies in your data. Finally, we'll see how to monitor trends, identify patterns, and uncover opportunities that support better decision making and business growth. We'll start with natural language query. To get started, I'm going to create a new natural language query. Choose the underlying view that you want to connect your natural language query to. I'm going to choose key team. Now, before we use the AI-enabled natural language query, as you see here, which I'll talk about in a minute, we'll construct a simple query using the guided natural language query that we currently that we've had for many versions in Yellowfin. So to do that, I'm going to simply show invoiced amount. As you can see, I'm simply making selections from the drop-down options provided to me, just clicking on the drop-down options provided to me. I'm going to show invoiced amount by, let's choose demographic, where my invoice date is between the beginning of this year to current date. So I'm generating year-to-date sales data by demographic. Now we are using the guided natural language query to construct this. Like I said, we have made selections or made selections from the drop-down options provided to us. We'll see how the same can be done using an AI-enabled natural language query in a minute. Now, in order to generate an year-to-date sales data, we'll have to enter the date range like we saw here, and then click on ask a question. As simple as that. And a simple chart is provided to us by Yellowfin. It automatically builds this chart for us based on the question that we asked when we framed the question. Now, let's do the same using an AI-enabled NLQ. Now, before we frame that question, you can see that the window is the same. You can either toggle on or off on AI enabled, depending on how you want to use natural language query. If it's turned on based on the user preference, if they want to use a guided approach or AI enabled, user would have the preference to make that choice when they are building the question using NLQ. And we're going to see all the setup and everything in the background. It's a very straightforward setup. I'm only focusing on the front end right now. Once we finish this on the front end, we'll see how the back end is set up in few minutes. And also, before I frame the question, you can see the suggested questions here on the top right for any user before they get started, just to give them an idea on what kind of questions they can ask. They can click on suggested questions, and a list of questions will be shown for them to get started. Now, this is also based on the ski team dataset that we are currently using right now. So I can go ahead and use any of these options just to generate that output to see how these can be utilized. I'm going to simply use how many athletes have booked camps using each booking method. Just click on that. The question is pasted in the question bar. Click Ask Question, and the Yellowfin generates the required output. Okay, you can use suggested questions to give you a kickstart if you're using NLQ for the first time. AI-powered NLQ for the first time. Now I'm erasing this. I'm going back to what we asked before using the guided approach. The question that we asked there was show invoiced amount by demographic, where invoice date was between few dates that we provided from the beginning of this year to current year. Now we'll see how the same question can be framed using AI enabled approach. Here I'm going to simply ask, what are the sales by demographic this year? As simple as that, and click enter. Yellowfin is now going to convert that into a guided NLQ style question and give you the output. Okay. Now, before we move on to other questions, one couple of things to note here. But the way we are using the LLM here is that we are passing this question over to LLM to get a guided NLQ style constructed question back that Yellowfin understands. That's all we are doing. We are not passing any data to the LLM at this point. All we are doing is passing this question and getting this in return, and that's what is used by Yellowfin to push back to the database to get your output. No data is sent back to LLM, and that's very important to note that your data is not leaving your system. Only the question is what is sent to LLM to get the NLQ style, guided NLQ style output that Yellowfin can use. Now, as you can see here, once you frame the question, the guided NLQ question that Yellowfin used in order to generate the results is also shown here on the bottom. So there is no confusion for the end user as to what you're seeing on the screen. You know, this is the question that you asked, and this is what Yellowfin used to frame this question. So there is always clarity over what fields it used. If somebody is interested in looking at that detail, there's always that visibility into what Yellowfin actually used in order to generate that output. So there's that transparency and clarity in the data that you're seeing. Okay. So from here, let's move on. Now let's extend this question if you want to narrow this down further, or, you know, we want to interrogate or expand this even more. So let's see what are the sales by demographic this year. Let's apply a filter on this. There is already a filter this year. Let's apply another filter for email bookings. So what we have done here is we expanded on that question, and we also applied a filter on booking method equals email. Now we didn't have to use a where clause or anything at all. It can be as simple, very plain, simple language for email bookings, and Yellowfin is now able to understand that booking method is the field that it needs to use and apply a filter on email on that to provide you the required output. Okay. Again, no data is sent through. All we are sending back is, all we are sending to LLM is a question and getting the statement, guided NLQ statement in return. Let's frame a different question now. What are the underperforming countries this year? Okay. Now frame your question and click enter. Now you can specify whether you want a bottom 5 or bottom 10 if you want to be explicit in your question. But it was an open-ended question from my end. So Yellowfin now use the bottom 5 athlete by country by profit margin, because we are going after performance and not sales for this year, including the start date. Now this is the output that we've received. Like I said, you can always look at the output that Yellowfin used, or the LLM output that Yellowfin used to generate this output. There's always, I'm saying this again, there's always a transparency for you to feel good about the output that you're seeing, the data that you're seeing that correlates with the question that you asked. Expanding on this, let me just see how to highlight above average countries by margin. Yellowfin is just making sure that we are looking for the mean when calculating the average, and Yellowfin is now showing you the country details and also providing you the mean, average, and showing you the countries that are above average, with clear distinction. You can be as creative as you want with the question. You can be as broad as you need to be with the question and Yellowfin, because it's using the LLM language behind the scenes, and you can bring your own LLM like we discussed during the slides, and use whatever works for you to do that conversion into the language that Yellowfin understands. Now, you may ask if different languages are supported too. I have an example to show that. So here I have a question that I already framed in a different language that I'm going to just copy paste here. This is in French language here. All we're asking is what are the total sales? Um, if I click on ask a question, total sales for last year, and you get the output. So even if I don't have the different languages enabled here on my laptop, on in this application, sorry, but you still will be able to use a different language question if that's what user is comfortable in order to use NLQ. They can simply type their question in a different language, and Yellowfin still will be able to produce output, desired output that we want to see. Now we'll just look at one last example here before we move on to the next topic. I am going to frame a different question. What is the average duration of camp by region this year? Okay. Now notice how I'm able to use average as in an abbreviated form. You can use that too. Yellowfin will be able to understand that as well. Based on the question you asked, again, the output is generated. I mean, this is a standard feature in NLQ. You can always toggle and look at this in a tabular format. That's always been there. So we have taken our current guided natural language query and enabled the AI, so you can use the same functionality in NLQ but frame your question in a more user-friendly manner. That's what has changed here. The core functionality of the natural language query, or the way you've used natural language query in the past, has not changed. We have only made it even more better by adding AI features to it, so you can get the benefit of AI as well if somebody don't want to use the guided approach in order to frame that same question. Okay, so now let's expand on this. What's the average duration of camp by region this year is what we asked. Let's see if we can compare this to last year and we'll see how the results look. So I want to compare to last year. You'll see here in a second that, the purple is last year, and the other gray bar is current year to date. You'll be able to see the comparison. You'll be able to produce the same report using a traditional report builder, the way you normally build a report, or even using a guided approach. You'll be able to do that, but by simply asking your question, you are able to generate the same output, in more quickly, I would say. Okay, guided natural language query, when you're asking that question, it's fairly quick as well, but because it's more in a plain language, you're able to get the results out even more fast. And again, with the transparency of seeing what report is being used, what query is being used to build the output. Okay, hopefully that helps, and you're able to see how NLQ, AI-powered NLQ enhances your current way you currently use natural language query in Yellowfin. Now from here, we'll see how this can enhance your dashboards as well, right? We don't need to stop here. There's this important question that you asked, comparing current year data to last year's data. Now, how we can reuse this content. Now, what I'm going to share here is something that has always been there in Yellowfin, but we are using the AI power to generate this output and enhance our dashboards even more. From here, you will be able to save this output as a report. You can give a question. You can give a report title, sorry, average duration of camp. Okay. You can publish it to a folder and save. Now, alternately, you can go to the report directly from here, or you can directly say add this to a dashboard. This output, whether it's a dashboard or story or presentation, it's the same thing. We are going to focus on dashboard right now. Once you generate the output, you can click on dashboard and add this to a existing dashboard. Now you can add to, like I said, you can add to an existing dashboard, or you can create a new dashboard and add to that. So right now I'm going to create a new dashboard. Create a dashboard. Now Yellowfin is going to add that very report to the dashboard here. Okay. Now, if you recall, we saved the report before we add it to a dashboard. Similarly, I mean, not this question, but if we added any other, if we saved any other reports, any other NLQ outputs as reports in the past, you will be able to browse through those reports here from the navigation on the left and add them to your report. So if I see here, you will be able to choose any report that we've saved from the NLQ screen, add that to the dashboard, and build your dashboard completely by generating outputs using AI. You don't have to manually build any report whatsoever manually. You can just use AI in the NLQ screen, use the question, type in the question that you want, generate the output, save that as a report, and add all of those reports to a dashboard that you can continue to use. You can schedule, you can open on a regular basis, have it as save it on your home screen, so you're constantly looking at it. So without you having to ever use a report builder, just by using AI, you will be able to build the dashboards and automate the whole thing by skipping the report builder screen altogether. Okay, hope that helps. And you hope that gives you an idea how you can not only use NLQ, but also build dashboards using the same questions that you have asked in the NLQ screen. From here, like I said, let's see how the backend is set up from this point. I'm going to go to the admin settings to see how the configuration is done to enable AI. I'm on the admin settings screen. If you scroll down, there is this external connections options on the screen. Just click on that, and all you do is add your connection, API connection here. Click on add button, provide your API key and any other details that you need to add in order to establish that question. Right now, OpenAI is what is supported by Yellowfin. Soon we are going to add other supported LLMs too. But right now, you certainly will be able to use OpenAI in order to get started with using the AI features in Yellowfin. One other thing to add here is that right now you will be able to add this API connection at the default level. It only supports at the default level. At this point, all your clients will be able to use the same API connection. But down the line, if you want to add APIs at the client level in order to, maybe monitor usage of by client, or if you want to give your clients ability to bring their own AI, bring their own LLM. That's also possible. They all can be set up at the client level, but that's not available in this release. That's soon to come in the future releases. So that's definitely a possibility. But as of right now, you will be able to add the API key at the default level, and all clients will be able to use that. If you want to pilot, or if you want to eventually have your clients use their own AI, but if you still want to get started with the AI at the default level, you certainly can do that. If you want to pilot with a couple of clients, that's certainly a possibility as of right now. Okay. Now let's go look at a view to see how the basic configuration for NLQ. Nothing has changed there, but I still want to take you to that screen if any of you are not familiar with it as right now, on how the setup is done at the back end. I'm going into the edit mode of the ski team view. Here, in order to enable the NLQ, it's very straightforward. You will be able to, sorry, let me just show it on the general settings screen. So all you need to do is enable natural language query. This shows kind of natural language query, but it's the same thing. You'll be able to, just using the radio button, enable AI on the same window. But this is where you would enable natural language query on any view. And if your view has multiple dates, when we were framing the questions on an NLQ screen, I was just randomly showing, typing in as this year or year to date, or, I'm open-ended. I'm not specifying what date to use. I didn't specify what date to use on that question. Uh, the date that is used is what you provide as a primary date here at this automated settings screen level. So whatever date you mark as a default date or the primary date is what is used when you are not being explicit with the date to be used in your question. If all I'm saying is year to date, or last year, current year, then this is the date that is used. But if your data set could have multiple dates, if you want to use any other date, all you need to do is be specific with the date that you want the LLM or NLQ or Yellowfin to use. Okay, under key variables, this is where you would enable the fields that you want to use on the NLQ screen. If you, on the guided NLQ style question, when you are framing a guided NLQ question, you're limited with what fields you enable in this window, and the same applies to AI powered NLQ too. If you want to be able to use the field in the NLQ screen, it needs to be enabled at this view level. That way you can limit the fields that users can use on the NLQ, because, understandably, a report could have many, many fields, but not all are applicable for an NLQ screen, or you probably do not want to do not want the user to use all those fields on the NLQ screen. So you have better control here. If you want them to use all of them, just check all the boxes. But if you want to limit, just limit the count here, limit the selections here. So you're limiting the user on what they can use on the NLQ screen. For example, you may not want to use customer ID in that window, because customer ID, there could be hundreds and thousands of fields, records that it may generate, and you don't want to slow You don't want a user to be generating that using an NLQ screen. If that's a restriction you want to place, simply uncheck that box here or don't enable it here, and users will not be able to use that on the NLQ screen. Okay. And if you also want to give any aliases or synonyms to your fields, you can change that. This could be the report name, but if you want to give a different name that they can use on the NLQ screen, just change the name here, and that's what they'll be able to use to type that question. Okay, so that's with the NLQ and AI powered NLQ. Hope that is all clear. Again, any questions, just type them in the window and we'll be able to get to them towards the end. Now, before we conclude, there are two other topics here. Then assisted insights, um, using assisted insights to automatically generate insights. That's what we're going to cover next. So I'm going to navigate to a different dashboard here. So on this drill dashboard, I'm using this camp revenue versus profit chart here to demonstrate the assisted insights. If you want to automatically generate insights based on this chart, you can simply click, provided your assisted insights is enabled on this view, and simply click on this or use the auto analysis option, and you can have Yellowfin explain this data set. You will see that Yellowfin has generated this output just by exploring the Europe data set further. It has generated or automatically generated the charts to explain this data set more, and you can click into it to further look into the details of this chart that it has produced. And the other way you will be able to explore this is using the compare feature, analyze and compare. So you can compare right now invoiced amount in Europe with, let's say, Asia. When you click on compare, it's automatically doing that comparison for you in the background. Again, in the same automatic settings window, you'll be able to enable what fields should be used by this auto analysis as well. Here in the output, you'll see that Yellowfin again automatically generates these explanations for us. And now if you see into this, the variance by demographic, if you look into the detail of this, now it has generated the variance compared to Europe and Asia, because that's what we are trying to analyze here. It has automatically built this chart for us based on how well that data is represented on this visual, and it has also provided more additional details behind this comparison. For example, the top three demographics combined to represent almost all of total positive variance. You can see the total, high performing demographics compared to both these regions just by one click into the data. Now, these additional insights, which you may need to, ask an LQ or build your own report to generate without doing any of that, just by one click and selecting that compare feature, you're able to generate all of these insights. That we can, utilize. You can go into the edit mode, save this as a report, the output of this as a report, and reuse that if needed. Okay. Lastly, using signals in Yellowfin, you will be able to monitor the trends and patterns in data. If I go back, go to a different dashboard here, on this particular dashboard, these are the signals that are generated that we have configured in the background and we've added to this particular dashboard. Now, if I just select something random here, um, so we have generated two signals on this. You can be as granular as needed when you're setting up these signals based on the configurations you set in place in the background. Yet Yellowfin identifies the exceptions in data and generates the signals automatically. You can also see the correlated metrics. In some cases, you can even see the related comparisons. So if I select a different, correlated metric, you are now comparing the account name Walmart with Johnny Walker brand. You're able to see how the Johnny Walker performed compared to this versus this account, and see if the signals that we are generating are common to any other dimensions in the field or any other values in the data set, so we can see if there is any correlation or if this is specific to a certain scenario or if it's an isolated scenario. Okay, you can also use the date slicer at the bottom in order to change the time frame and see the signals in more detail. Okay, if you scroll down, you'll be able to add a comment and share this discussion with your team member. You can see the relevance of this when compared to the overall performance of that metric. You can generate automatic insights for the same metric again, using auto analysis or assisted insights. Okay, this is how you'll be able to monitor the trends and patterns in the data at as granular level as needed, and also compare that to any other metrics in your data set. Now that concludes what I wanted to show in the application today. As you just saw, Yellowfin brings together intuitive design and powerful AI features to make working with data a lot easier. Whether you're building dashboards or simply asking questions in plain language, Yellowfin makes your experience easier, particularly with AI. Hopefully that gave you a good sense of how these features can help your team move faster and get more value from your data, again, using AI in particular. Now let's head back to the slides to wrap things up. That that brings us to the end of the presentation. Today we looked at how AI is becoming a natural extension of business intelligence, and how Yellowfin continues to evolve by introducing features like natural language query, assisted insights, and signals. Hopefully this gave you a good sense of how Yellowfin makes it easier to ask your data questions, explore patterns, and stay on top of what's happening in your business. The information covered in the webinar, along with detailed instructions on implementing these features, can be found on Yellowfin Wiki. If you would like to get in touch or request a demo, please reach us out at the email address provided on the screen. If there are any questions, we can address them now. Any questions you may have, just type them in the Q&A section and we'll get to all of them. If there are no questions, thank you again for joining us today. See you soon in the next webinar. Thank you.